The South African Liquor Brand Owners Association says government's decision to extend the alcohol ban has left the alcohol industry with no choice but to apply for a deferment of the payment of excise duties until the ban is lifted. The organization says liquor producers are facing a serious cash flow problem owing to the ban and are in need of urgent relief. For more on this, I'm joined now by Salba CEO Kurt Moore. Kurt, good to have you with us tonight on the Newsfeed Late Night.
Thabo, thank you very much for having me.
Do you share the concern that government has, and I suppose the broader public has, on the continued increase in terms of COVID-19 infections, and therefore the sentiment that I suppose a limit on alcohol sales could certainly help to reduce the pressure on our health system?
Thabo, yes, we are equally concerned about the rise in infections of the COVID virus in our society. And we want to do everything we can as an industry to help flatten that curve. We've been involved in a number of initiatives working with government, supplying PPE to our health workers, to all in a bid to aid and to assist government in terms of flattening the curve. However, we believe that there are less drastic measures that government could have considered, such as an opportunity to purchase alcohol, or for consumers to purchase alcohol and to consume that at home. We believe that would have been a preferable approach that would at least help this industry to survive. Yeah. And in an effort to survive, we've asked government to defer our excise tax liabilities.
Yeah. This is, of course, an act that we saw happening earlier when we were on a hard lockdown, lockdown level 5. What are the tax implications for the liquor industry under this lockdown level 3?
Well, we have to pay our tax like all taxpayers do. During lockdown, where we are not allowed to sell, as you mentioned earlier, it impacts on our cash flow, and generally our tax liabilities are funded out of cash flow. Now, within some segments of our industry, you are expected to pay under what is called duty at source. That means somewhere in the production process, you become liable for tax. And then with wines, you find that at the point of sale, you become liable for tax 90 days after that. Yeah. And we have honored, and we've tried to honor government's request. At the beginning of the lockdown, government asked businesses to please continue to try and pay the employees, and also to try and pay small businesses so that our economy doesn't collapse. So between those commitments, paying employees, paying rent if you are a retailer, and also having to pay small businesses as large manufacturers, somewhere we've got to find some breathing room, and that's what we hope to address through this tax deferment. Again, it's a deferment. When we start trading again, we will pay our liabilities to the taxman.
Tease that out for us a little bit more, because one would think, well, I mean, the liquor industry is not selling, and therefore there is no expectation for them to pay tax. But you're saying excise at source. What does that actually mean?
Okay. It can get a bit technical, but even before you get to the sale, especially spirits and beer, before you get to the sale, at a certain point in the production process, it becomes liable for tax. So then the tax man starts to count 90 days from that particular point. So in many cases, you haven't even sold. Right now, we are not allowed to sell. So that restricts the cash flow. For 2 months, July and August, we were granted an exemption or a deferment there. And in our estimates, it's about 2.5 billion rand a month that we pay to Treasury or to SARS. And so that just helps to free up some cash flow to meet some of the other obligations that I referred to earlier.
Right. Now, talk to me about your members. Are they currently continuing to produce even under the lockdown level 3?
Look, the current restrictions does not prohibit the manufacture of alcohol. It just bans sale and distribution. Of course, you can't just continue to produce if you're not selling. So at some point, your warehouses are going to become full, and you'll have to then cease your production, especially when you don't know when it's going to be when we're going to trade again. The wine producers in particular right now, I mean, we're in a harvesting season. Grapes you can't just wait for grapes. You have to go pick them when they are ready to be harvested. So right now, some of our wine farmers are busy with their harvesting. That's going to create another headache for them because we're unable to sell for large parts of this year, up to 17 weeks rather. We were not allowed to sell during this year. They've had stock buildup in their cellars, in the tanks. So now we have a new harvest coming in and there's no room for the new harvest. So they are sitting with a particular headache as well.
Yeah. Are you of the view that a government could still be engaged and convinced on a risk-adjusted strategy when it comes to the liquor ban, and therefore are you calling on them and engaging them on that particular one?
We remain hopeful that we can reach some amicable solution with government. We've always been open to engage, and we are trying actively to engage to try and find these solutions. Like I said, we did make some suggestions on the 28th of December when we consulted with government to allow the sale of alcohol from off-consumption premises. That means consumers need to buy and consume at home and not be in on-consumption premises such as bars and taverns. So that proposal was on the table. And we will still look at ways to explore and find means of engaging government and hopefully find some solution to this challenges that we face.
Now, coming out of lockdown level 5, was the industry able to recoup as far as the volumes of sales that you would have lost out on during the 3 months of lockdown?
No, Thabo. I mean, those you can't make up those type of losses. You'll see, even if you have a look at the report from SARS during the midterm budget, they were 28% down in terms of their excise recoveries compared to similar periods from the previous year. So just looking at that tells you we have not recouped our losses.
Yeah. One would ask, why are you not going the legal route to solve these challenges as, other counterparts in the liquor sector have done?
Thabo, look, our view is, we're facing a crisis in terms of our industry, particularly the smaller producers, wine producers, small craft beers. And even if you take a court case on an urgent basis, the difficulty of having that resolved within the next few weeks, it's almost not going to happen. And we still believe that we can sit down and engage. After all, this country was founded on consultation. So we're still committed to that. But yeah, I'll take guidance from our members about what's the next steps.
Yeah. What is your view on the illegal channels that, I suppose, continue to operate even under these lockdown restrictions?
Well, Thabo, that's an area that we haven't addressed in this call, and it's a very important issue and a very important question that you did ask. Because, while the legal trade is not allowed to operate, the illegal trade is operating. And you'd have seen in the media, one of our members had bottle tops stolen from their production facility in Durban. Now, when things like that disappear, it can only be for one thing. It's going to be used to refill and reseal a product. And those type of operations and those illicit operators are not necessarily operating according to the high standards that's been set in our regulations for the manufacture of alcohol. So they do pose a health risk. And yeah, never mind the money that our fiscus is losing as a result of all of this illicit activity.
Previously, government gave the green light for the deferment for close to about 5 billion rands. Do you see this happening again, or how difficult is it a mountain to climb this time around?
We remain hopeful that government will hear our pleas once again. Regrettably, we had some engagements. Well, we've reached out to the Minister of Finance. SARS did have some platforms set up for such applications, but they've since closed those email addresses down. So we're trying to find ways of engaging directly with both Treasury, with SARS, as well as the Minister of Finance, and we're hoping for a solution that will help our industry to get through this very challenging time.
Yeah. In real terms, I mean, how long can your members hold off and keep their doors open?
Tabo, that is a very difficult question. But what I can say is, every week or every day at this stage becomes critical. And it depends. We have a spectrum of members that's ranged from small to medium enterprises to the large enterprises that we all know, the Distels, the Diageos of this world. But the smaller businesses, we've already lost a few microbrewers. And we will be losing more in the coming days and weeks, as well as the small wine producers. So each week is critical for this industry.
Kurt, I appreciate your time and thank you very much for joining us tonight on the Newsfeed Late Night.